My name is Blair Sinta. Welcome to the podcast, Recording Drums with me. All right, this is the start of season 2. I've been busy teaching my new course, Drum Recording Expert. It's a 6-week-long class. The first one just finished up, and it felt pretty successful to me. So I'm going to be offering this class again soon, probably within a month. If you're interested in signing up, please visit my website, Drum Recording Expert. You'll see it. It's a 6-week course offered on Zoom. There's tons of details about what you're going to learn and testimonials. All right, podcast today. My friend Randy Cook, hailing from Canada, living in LA for a long time, one of the busiest drummers I know in this town, that is. Man, he's such a funny guy. We talk about eating tacos all the time, but the amount of time we actually get tacos is maybe once or twice a year. Man, he makes me laugh so much. Anybody who knows him will know that. And he's just a monster drummer, live recording guy. He's had some pretty unique situations here in LA of, living with songwriters and just, having the option to record with them, day in and day out on demos and tracks. Just a really successful, super smart, funny dude. We actually double drummed together one time, playing Beatles songs at the Hollywood Bowl for 3 nights. That was an amazing experience. So, all right, here we go. Season 2 of Recording Drums. What am I talking about here? That's it. Here comes Randy. Prepare to laugh. Silliness and good information coming your way.
You do. You look so handsome.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Hey, you let your hair grow back a little bit. I like it.
A little.
You buzzed it off a little while ago.
Yeah, I went bald because I was like, "Fuck this! I got to take care of my own hair." And
I love it.
It's just falling out, man. From fucking
stress. Catch up, motherfucker.
I'm actually wondering if this interview will be coherent at all between the two of us, but we're gonna try.
I'm gonna start like scotch taping hair to my baseball hat so that when I put them on, you just like the,
You know what's amazing, dude? I've never seen your space. This what I'm looking at right now. And you've
this isn't my space anyways.
Right, but still,
I've seen a billion of your videos, so I know what your face looks like. Like a jillion. No, let me up that level to a jillion. My thumbs is still fucking sore from pressing like on all of your wonderfully recorded, insanely, amazingly effective drum videos. Where you here's this classic sound from fucking this iconic record in 1980s. Sounds exactly like it, But yeah, I know what your space looks like, and this is just office storage.
Okay.
And all my gear is in Woodland Hills, right at Treehouse.
Oh, I didn't realize that was in Woodland Hills.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Right.
In that space, when you put up videos check out this film, blah, 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 that's Treehouse.
That's Treehouse, yeah.
Okay. I think the interview has started, right? So
yeah, we're in it. We're like, oh shit, LA in the house. Oh, by the way,
I'm getting my Randy Cook on. Hang on.
By the way, favorite headphones ever. But check out the aftermarket other Paddy things you can buy for those cans. They're actually thicker. And I just thought I'd tell you that because I've gone through 3 sets of.
Are they good for sweaty ears?
They're amazing. Yeah, I should just give you the Amazon link because you can swap out the gray pads. Those are my favorite because they have the biggest ear hole things, so it doesn't press on your cartilage.
I'm gonna let that one go.
Cartilage, eh?
I'm gonna let it go. If our text messages,
I love it when your drumming is in my ear holes, Blair.
If our text messages get released, we're done.
Oh my God. We should just release the thread
No, we should.
As part of our podcast, it should just run like a ticker tape down the side, and people just like, yeah.
All right.
Cancel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So I know about Treehouse, but tell everyone about your amazing situation you've had for your whole life, and why I envy you so much.
You mean you're referring, of course, to the studio situation, right? The setup that I went from one very, very similarly to the one I'm in now. I went from one to another, and
why I'm even more envious. But yes.
I tend to seek that out because I think that yes, I know what an immense financial commitment it is to go from ground up, build out a room, get all the gear, fuck the computer, the software, the gear, the room, it's never ending. It's a rabbit hole clearly that never ends. And I was just lucky. Both times I was lucky, to be honest with you. The situation I'm in now is where I just, found some friends that already had a studio, had a bunch of great gear, and I was like, man, please, God, can I come and install a kit? You can use my gear for your outside projects, and we'll just barter. I'll still get you paid for the, I'll have the clients pay for your time, but in exchange, I want to be able to come and go as I please and do the work that I get to do. And so it's worked out great. I bring to the table is not just drum gear. I have some mics, I have some pre's that I brought in, and woo! Come on in. Let's talk about preamps.
And he's out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's the situation. I'm super lucky. Like I'll walk in to the studio and they'll be like, hey, look, we got 4 new 500 series knee pre's. I'm like, oh, great, let's put them on blah. I slowly have been collecting my own stuff for that very situation, which is the trajectory is to catch up with everybody else that has their own place. Right. So I've just been stockpiling, mics and so I haven't really gone down the pre rabbit hole too much because, as we can discuss, there's a massive dividing line between hardware and software, and it doesn't matter who you talk to, what videos you look at. It seems currently to be a combination of both, like where I see UA units, right, and everybody raving about, which I use as well. Like at Treehouse at the studio, it's all they have a console, a board, and we have tons of outboard gear.
Right.
I bring tracks home here into the office, and sometimes if I'm going to do a video, I take the raw tracks and then I just put up a drum aux and throw the entire kit, which is already sort of mixed as far as panning and levels and that shit goes. But for just video's sake, I know enough. I know enough about compression and EQ and verb just to try, when I'm going to stripe my drum audio to a video, at least it sounds better than the raw files, because basically what I'm delivering is raw files, right? As we all do. Most producers and clients want to be able to do their own thing, and so I've seen some of your videos that are unbelievable because it's all in one. Like if someone calls you and says, hey, this is the sound I want, you get to go that one step further. Whereas for me to walk in, it's with Dusty and Justin, who are the cloners of Treehouse. Once in a while I'll tell them, hey, would you mind, like we need to chase this. We need to chase this thing.
Okay.
Whereas what I'm chasing is the sort of ground level sounds. So if it's a singer songwriter thing, it's very intimate and fat and dry. I'm going to treat the kit that way and use the right snare and the right cymbals and all that shit. So at least when I'm delivering the raw files, where they're starting from is pretty close to what they want.
Right.
But I am a massive fan of guys like yourself who go, check this out. This is the gear I used, and this is the sound I got, and it's done. Like you could literally just deliver those files that way, and they could start their mix from there. You're mixing as well, is what I'm saying, and so
Right. So how much gear? Like you said, you brought a kit over, but it's not literally you brought a kit. Like most of your stuff is there.
3/4 of my snares are there. Right. Almost all my cymbals. One shell pack is there where I can swap out kick drum sizes and tom shells from 10 to 18.
Cool. Right. Okay.
Right. So depending on the vibe and the standard shit that we cater to,
Right.
that then we just swap around. But I mean, behind me, I've got a bunch of, I've got some Vintage Sidwick stuff. I've got like a bunch. I'm a Yamaha endorser, so I have a bunch of Yamaha stuff. And on this side, there's a bunch of snares over there. And it's a collecting rabbit hole. Every 4 months, 6 months, I find a snare somewhere that I love, and I'm like, do I need another snare drum? Super not. No, never.
No, none of us.
The other day I posted a thing on
Chris Hewer's building like a bell brass thing now, which I'm like,
see, yeah. This is the thing. It's FOMO, right? Like we just go, oh my God. Yeah. I think I have the staples. I got a Black Beauty, I got a Superphonic, I got the things that if asked, I can say, yeah, these are the iconic snares that people are used to hearing the sound of. Black Beauties are darker, Superphonics are brighter and snappier. And I have wood rims, I have vintage, I have sparkling new, as do we all. This is part of the thing as we grow as musicians and drummers. We want, just like cymbals, you want to be able to have as much much tonal choice as you can, so yeah. So I brought, most of my poop is at Treehouse, and yeah. That's that.
When did you move here? Was it like 2005 or something? When did you move here?
4, but man, you were close. What?
I remember when we met. Do you remember when we met?
It's vague to me because I have just a generally crap memory for everything in life, which is very bad. It's not very good. It's not a great quality to have. It's Bo, right? Your name is Bo. Bo.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But can you remind me where we met and see if
I think it was at the Mint. And Pedestrian, with my old band Pedestrian was playing.
Oh, very well. Maybe I frequented the Mint very, very often.
I think I think I knew. It's interesting. I already knew who you were somehow, right? From just around.
I owed you money. Why? Why did you know who I was?
Yeah, I just knew. I don't know. Some guy, Canadian punk guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Canadian douchebag. Oh, I heard of that guy.
You came up to me after. You're like, man, I have compliments, and I was like,
as I would,
but I was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? You know what I mean?
Was I all touchy-feely? Was I grabbing your ass and softly stroking your teeth?
You were really friendly, and I was intrigued.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to plant the man love seeds right then and there. Well, anyway, yeah, man. But, how was that in 2005 or 2004? I just
like probably 2006 or 2007.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But when you came here, when you moved to LA,
mm-hmm.
Did you have who was the old songwriter that you used to live with?
That's a great question.
Is that awesome?
The songwriter you mean that I did a bunch of work with, like in Toronto and in LA? Is the guy? Yeah. Are you talking possibly about Matthew Gerard, who wrote, Kelly Clarkson's breakout #1 hit and a slew of other things? Like the guy is like, I wasn't on that tune. That's an interesting story, by the way. But
you can tell us.
Yeah, you want to get into that story? I played on the demo for Breakaway in Toronto, and all the files got sent to LA, and super famous producer, guitar player, engineer did the record, and to this day, there are some rumors flying around.
It happens to a lot of us. Don't worry.
There are some rumors flying around that those are my files and my tracks, but whatever, it doesn't matter. The funny thing about that is oddly enough, having nothing to do with that session in Toronto and Matthew and that song, I ended up on 2 tracks on the same record from a completely other different producer source. So it worked out. I still slimed my way into that situation.
But that was your previous studio situation, yes?
Yeah. In Toronto, you mean?
No.
Oh, no. Here, no. This is like when I did the demo for Breakaway, I still lived in Toronto and I didn't have a work visa. That's how long ago that happened. Okay. I'm not even sure that song had been placed with Kelly yet.
Oh, crazy!
It was as you know, many times you get, you're playing on a writer's demo, a producer's demo. It hasn't been shopped yet. It hasn't found a home yet. So that was that situation. Right. Then I got my visa. Then I moved.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, when I moved here, I didn't have anything waiting. I had no tours, no live gigs, not one session, nothing. I just had that thing where you call up everybody in LA and you go, I'm here. I have a car, drums, and a phone. Really, that's, that was it, And so, and there you just roll the dice,
Right. So then how did the previous studio situation happen for you?
You mean the situation prior to Woodland Hills now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's easy. The one that you knew, which was in the backyard in the valley.
Yeah.
That was, I had been introduced to a writer-producer couple. They went by the name of Wizards of Oz, and they were from Australia. And so we became very friendly, very close, and I started doing all of their demo sessions and whatever projects they were writing on and recording. And they had, when I met them, they had a post room where they had taken their garage and made it a mix room, but they didn't have any facility to record a drum kit, which is always the dividing line between everyone. That's the line right there, right? So, you either go to a studio or you have that facility, and there's nothing in between. So, So eventually, a couple of years into that relationship, they decided to build out in their backyard a live room, and attached to that live room, they had a studio apartment built as well. And I lived in that studio apartment. So I could walk out the door and come into the next door. And there I was, there's my gear. And so it was, it was a very similar situation in that it was their studio. Almost all of the gear was theirs. I had maybe 7 channels of pre's at the time and a couple of mics, and a nice, CK4, like a AKG 451 or the CK capsule, all that shit. Like I had little bits and pieces. And so that was my home for recording, for popping out tracks, whether someone needed to come by or.
That like super integral to you'd always been doing stuff already, right? In Toronto and here, but was that integral to you understanding studio work more? Or do you feel like it was just, I
had a really robust recording life in Toronto,
right?
But in Toronto, it was all outside sessions, right? So it was always, am I going to drag my gear here, or can I get cartridges? Is there a budget for that? All that stuff, but it was always outside sessions. Whereas here, it was a combination, and slowly, I think you can attest to the same thing. The arc between outside sessions and home sessions has literally crossed each other, and now the bulk of everything that we do now is out of our own spaces. And once in a while, you're like, "Woo! I'm in Sunset Town, or I'm in, down on, yeah." So that's, I'll tell you, you're right in that the minute I was set up in my own space and I had to that was the learning curve. I had to learn Pro Tools real quick. I had to learn how to punch in. I had to learn how to crossfade my edit so that you didn't know that I took 27 punches to do that take. Like, all those things came very quickly. So yeah, I was running the rig from the kit and running into after the session, I was running into the control room and finishing up the edits and blasting them off. So, that was a learning curve that I'm happy to have, and of course now Final Cut Pro, we've added yet another level of, so you're a drummer, right? Okay. What video editing software do you use? It's great. It's insanity now.
What cameras do you own? It's like, what?
Yeah, clearly first world problems, but still this is the climate, this is the landscape we're in now. And it is what it is, it's catch up or
so
back in the dust.
When you were demoing with them a lot, the Wizards of Oz, was that like deep, like sonic stuff? Because it was like they were trying to write hits, right? Like that was the thing, right? So was that like a lot of time spent like diving deep with that stuff, or was it more like, hey, we want this thing, and you just would come in and try to replicate their MIDI drums, or how did?
Yeah, it was more the latter. It was very, very quick, super like in and out. Like, they'd have deadlines and writing deadlines and submission deadlines, and whether it was stuff for catalogs and syncing and all that crap. So it was quick in terms of like deep diving into tonalities and spending time like it's funny, the only time I remember doing that there was for a Five for Fighting thing where it was a situation where John wanted to re-record some of his singles.
Okay. And
he wanted to lift them, both performance and tonally. So this was spending time and being and that was probably way 75% of the time was making sure that it sounded right.
Yeah. The
right miking, the right tones, and then 25%, it's just lifting the parts. But that, I guess that sort of a little bit of what you were asking, but most of the time it was just, can you come in? I would come in, they would leave. I'd sit at the control room at the computer and do a quick chart. And then I'd go, okay, I'm ready. I'd run in and they'd come in and they'd run the session. When someone called me for something, I did it all. I would repatch. We had a system in the control room where if they had to do a vocal session and they would use certain pre's, I knew how to patch back for drums. So it's basically a vocal setting and then a drum setting. Everything else was, they did,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Cool.
What did you do out of there that like everyone knows?
That's a good question. I think that the singles that have made it to radio have actually been out of outside studios. I find that anything like that, the dominoes go this way. Okay, this is geared to, an artist and a label, and they've got what's happening. So therefore there's a better budget. And because there's a bigger budget, we want to go where there's 48 channels of a vintage API desk or a neat console, room 2, it's so out of that studio, it was like workhorse work. It was like a million demos and a lot of like sync shit, catalog shit, and some jingles. I did a lot of jingles out of there. Still some jingles for there's a company in Japan that I do some for. Still in Canada, of course, I still get a bunch of work from my fellow Canuckians. So yeah, I would say that a lot of the things. Oh, I'm sorry. The second Kelly Clarkson single that I did, actually it wasn't a radio single, but it was on her, I think, third CD I did out of that studio. Okay. Yeah. So one of the Kelly Clarkson things I did at the studio, I did a bunch of tracks for a band called Steelheart. It's like a huge 80s metal act. They still are crushing it in Europe. Like I see pictures of these guys playing like massive festivals, but I've done a bunch of tracks out of there and still, and in Treehouse now. Treehouse, I did the current situation. I've done like stuff for CNN. I did, cool, like fun stuff, like, America's Funniest Videos for a dog montage. I did, like all that stuff, is cranking out of Treehouse. I think nowadays, as long as your raw files are recorded well, great pre's, great mics, great source tones. I mean, really,
that's the name of the game.
That's it. That your job is done. There's
everything else is icing, really.
Yeah, I mean, I find, I don't know if you've ever been asked to do this, but I've only been asked, I think, in 2 decades, one time when someone called and said, "Hey, when you do this drum track, do you do Beat Detective?" Like, what? Like, I
don't think I've ever been asked that.
Yeah, but it was for a Disney thing, and there was already a loop in the track, and it was a hard edited loop, so they wanted the drums to be here. Which, listen, no shame in that. That's a definite, that's one way of doing things. But I'm not going to do that. Like, it's just ethically, like, it's funny. They gave me a track that was programmed drums that was hard edited. It was just a quantized loop that was like, hired a real guy to then take the real guy tracks and slam them hardcore 100% to get. So really, the work was great to have, but I really, other than having, I guess they got different drum fills instead of programming them. So I don't do that. And and in the same way, only a handful of times someone said, "Look, I don't mix very well. I want that 80s sound from, not Chic. What was the band? Some like Get Hot. Like it hot. That super
power station,
super gated, super like fat in your face, and sure, we spent, a half hour sort of chasing those tones, and I sent files, but mix like that.
Yeah.
But most of the time, guys just, producers and writers.
You track that sound down in a half an hour? I'm impressed.
Well, as close as we can get, because we're, again, the rabbit hole is ridiculous. Do you get the action? Do you chase the actual gear? Because you can.
I literally just finished giving a lesson to somebody, and I was like, "This is how you do that."
But it's true though. If you want to know, you need to know the signal chain, the signal path. Like everything mattered, from the gear to the mic to the pre to the outboard gear they used after. All that shit is. Yeah. It's crazy. It's planetary alignment, and you either have that shit or you don't. And if you don't, again, this brings our conversation, full circle to virtual software, virtual plugs versus,
right.
I don't know about you, but I still feel the pressure of, so what outboard, what pre's are you guys using? What it's like, okay, do you, are you using, Avitas MA5s that are 1073?
I just think that's a comical question at some point, like now.
But
I really
absolutely
do. Like when somebody hears a drum sound and they go, "What are your mic pre's?" I go,
"What did it matter how I got here?"
Can you hear what the mic pre is? Like yes, there are crappy mic pre's and there are good mic pre's. There is, of course, but the name on it, I feel like is there are very few people that know the difference sonically.
Yeah. I was years ago by those those folks where I was set up originally, they had recommended the Vitas MA5s. This is like going back 10, 15 years.
That's when they were hot.
I just wanted, something that was, modeled after like a 1073 or something navy and warm. And they did it. They're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And now, you've got the BAE line, you've got all these companies are making 500 series pre's and like whatever, just a pre or a pre and EQ, and they're great. And then you go, oh yeah, check out this UA plug. You're like, oh my God. Wait, I just spent, oh my God, what is happening?
Oh my God. Who is that guy?
Am I back? I'm back. I'm back. Woo!
Well, that's the funny thing is like I used to be diehard about when people asked me about outboard gear. I was like, you have to invest in great mic pre's. And then probably 3 or 4 years ago,
you're like, you have to buy an 8-channel UA unit.
Yeah. Well, I started to go like, I don't know if it matters now because you can go from API to Neve or whatever in the drag and drop and all good. So, but it finally got to that point where it's like, I give my argument that I used to steadfastly stand by.
I realize that. And isn't it the same rabbit hole for microphones? I've even seen you going, check out this lot and check out this, and
stuff,
and there are companies now that are emulating $5,000-$10,000 microphones. It's like, okay, sure. If if that microphone can get 80% away for 10% of the cost, dude, by the time, this is the same conversation I've had about live. I mean, your podcast is about recording drums, but really the same thing applies to live when guys have that conversation about, bearing edge, wood type, year of, okay, now hold on. You take that kit that you so desperately chased on that, and then you put a 57 on it, and the front of house guy slams it with compression and verb, and I have sad news.
Yeah.
Like, that end result, that by the time it gets to the ear holes of everybody in the crowd, I'm not so sure that it was so important to. Yeah. Yes, good gear is crucial, absolutely. But when it comes to those fine lines of like, do you prefer, what year of Ludwig's do you prefer? Come on, I think that, I don't know.
In the early 2000s, when like I started buying gear and presumably you started buying gear, it was like there was a dividing line. There was like, well, first of all, the vintage stuff was expensive, but it wasn't astronomical. So it was affordable. And then, but there was also no mid-level, like it was either kind of crappy or it was vintage expensive. Now we have this amazing thing like the Lawton mics, I think, where those guys are making really amazing mics, and they're not cheap, but it ain't.
But they're not $8,000 for a vocal mic, or they're not, or a pair of overheads. Yeah, absolutely.
And that didn't used to exist.
No, I know.
15 years ago. Yeah.
And the same with pre's, right? Same. And that conversation has been hammered so often, but I mean, it's true though. It's we partially lament this situation, but we applaud it. It's amazing that I can come home, take the entire kit, throw it into an aux and put a 1073 UA plug. And it's astronomically amazing how well the software can emulate that outboard gear. It's amazing, hats off. And why not? Why not have it? It's allowed not just you and myself, but boatloads of other players to go and record for people. They don't need that investment doesn't have to be $100,000 now,
Well, that's the tricky thing too. It's like now almost anybody can afford it and almost has to like get into it in a certain spot, but also learning how to use it properly, which is what I'm really finding interesting. And it's like I'm finding this strange niche of teaching people how to use it. It's like,
but that's amazing, and that's why your programs and your podcast and stuff are so crucial because, now that all this whole demographic of drummers and even musicians alike, because I've seen other players piping in on your sessions to go, oh, I see. I get how this pre affects this compressor affects this, that thing is that demographic is growing rapidly because of right. I mean, the industry has now allowed and made affordable, virtual software, virtual preamps, even mics. I mean, Slate. I don't know if you've tried the Slate mic yet. I haven't, but
I've heard it's great.
I'm desperate to try and go, oh, well, I mean, at 4 of these mics, I'm going to call that one of this and I'm going to call that one of that. And because I think they've got 2, they've got a tube mic and they've got a condenser, right? Right. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Can you imagine? Again, if they got 75%, 80% close to emulating, a Neumann blah, then why not? Why not?
I don't know that mic though.
There are a few. There's different. There's the blah A. There's the blah B. There's the fucking
the blah B. The highly touted blah B.
Yeah. Or you go put FET 47s on all your toms and then tell me if you can afford gas in your car. Right. Sure, go ahead. Be my guest. It's cool. There's the line for us. It's like, as drummers, we don't just get to have a stereo Apollo in our office and crank out a track. We've got to get 10, 8, 12, 14 preamps and microphones. You can get away with great standard workhorse mics like 57s on snares. But man, when it comes to overheads and rooms and kick drums, you can't cheap out. You still, even with the emulation, you still have to spend some money, and it's not easy for us. But at least though, through software, you can crank out really great sounds. And guys like yourself who are showing, people how to, this is how you can do it. It's not that crazy hard, but it's a learning process, a learning curve. It's good.
And you can do it. Well, the other thing I find fascinating is people feel like you need 14 microphones to start with, which I'm like, that's like trying to go play basketball with LeBron James, even though he started dribbling 2 days ago. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely. And I know that. And listen, I don't want to have full disclosure. I think I'm up around that number when I send files, but I know that half of them aren't used sometimes.
Right.
Most of them.
Right.
No, wait,
but to clarify, I'm not bagging on using that many. It's not.
I know.
To start,
it is right? It's absolutely not. Oh my God, 8 channels, golden, super golden. Yeah, for sure.
Are you? So I'm curious. Are you actually doing as much commercial music as you are albums and stuff, with your situation, or? It's mostly artist, singer, songwriter, bandy stuff, and maybe 75 and 25. Okay.
25 hey, this is a jingle, or this is strictly for catalog, or it's a cue, it's a 90-second spot. Yeah. So it's about 25 that, and 75 singer, songwriter, band stuff. Yeah, for sure. How about yourself? Tell me everything.
Probably similar.
Yeah.
I definitely have one consistent composer, TV commercial thing, which I
amazing.
Love. It's always hey man, are you home? Are you home now?
Yeah.
Can you done by 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Of course I can. But I'm not home, but I will be home in 10 minutes. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of that can be the most fun. It's funny that, I haven't done much, but the little amount of soundtracky stuff that I've done is always the most fun, because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's drum kit, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's sound design, but coming from what we do, and you're scraping shit and throwing stuff against the wall. It's super fun to see how that ends up on. There was a sequel. What's the famous horror movie? Here's Johnny. What's that movie?
The Shining.
Shiny. So I did a bunch of the drum sound effects for the sequel that came out a couple of years ago.
Just say you're not that old, dude. You couldn't have done Shining.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Oh no, I'm 100.
There was a sequel to The Shining.
So fun. Yeah, it was really cool. A couple of years ago, okay. And but I just remember doing timpani-esque things and like metal this and chains on that, and it was amazing. It was super cool. Using brass candlestick holders as triangle sounds and fucking whatever. It's cool. Yeah.
Did you do that at home, or was that at
No, I did it at the studio. I drag a box of crap to the studio just so I can have cleaner mics. At home, I'll do stuff like percussion. If someone needs
when I say home, I mean tree house.
Oh, tree house. Okay, so yeah, all the main stuff is done at Treehouse. But if I have to do shaker or tambourine or cajon or something, I do it right here or right behind me. And sometimes
that's amazing. I literally couldn't see that.
What an incredible writing tool, and it's amazing. This has been. There have been sessions where sometimes they're like, you know what? It doesn't even have to be you on a kit at the studio. Can you just crank out? And with the software nowadays, it's scary. I'm going to tell you, we all know as drummers how crappy it's been with hi-hats and cymbals. And, when you talk about electronic kit stuff, but they're getting really close and really good
What's your favorite sample pack?
I split between not the Slate, but my favorite one. Oh, fuck. Name the top three, and I'll tell you the two. The one that tracks the best with the Yamaha gear is. Come on, there's only
I don't know, dude.
Three or four. So bad at this. Should I Google it while we're on the podcast?
Fine. I have no idea.
I'm going to do it right now. I don't care. I'm going to do it right now.
I do know that I just got this sample pack. It was given to me from Revival Drum Shop, and it's literally 50, maybe 100 vintage snares. It's insane. It sounds so good. So,
okay, so I'll tell you. I just saw one of them that I have. I have four sets. There's one sample pack though from Blackbird in Nashville.
Can't do this anymore. I can't.
Sample pack in.
Not even that funny. All right.
Oh, we're bonding there. There's for me. It obviously depends on the triggers you're using. I have the Yamaha DTX stuff. That Yamaha DTX stuff triggers addictive the best, and it's pretty scary, actually. Some of the nuance that you can get from a ride cymbal and the hi-hats, which is the dividing line by the way. Totally. We all know that they've got all the dynamics on drums already. That's a given. That's years ago they figured that out. Right. But the addictive shit tracks the best for what I have. And then there's have you ever done anything at Blackbird?
Man, I wish. No.
It's it's stupid how much gear John's got. He is a gear hoarder, and God bless him for it.
Wait, have you been there since we did the Beatle thing, or before that?
Absolutely since. Yeah.
Oh, shit, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when I was there, he didn't know I was there. And I was there with a Canadian country act that had booked out the room, and they got, they had prepaid for, you sort of prepay, it's a certain amount of days. And it's you prepay for this microphone pack and this drum backline pack. So you can pick, 3 snare drums, and you can pick this many cymbals. And in terms of your mic pack, they list it out, and you choose, there are so I show up there with the whole group. We're gonna record live off the floor, which is, by the way, they still do it a lot in Nashville, which is amazing. I don't know, but I happen to just say to the in-house engineer, "Hey, is John around?" And I think he's in another studio. John comes in and it's all hugs and how you doing? And he just says to the engineer, what are they using on drums? And he goes, oh, well, they're that. And he just starts spouting. He goes, oh, no. Give him the this and the that and the this and that. And the producer from Toronto is like, I'm just going to tell you, I think, I'm going to try not to exaggerate, but I remember when they were setting up the rows of room mics, in the room, there was a close room, mid, far. There was one above, there was a stereo overhead, like a vintage broadcast where you would have to twist, you twist a capsule to and I remember looking up at it, and I could tell that it was an old, it was a vintage mic. And I said, I'm just curious, what's that mic worth? And the engineer is just wiring shit. He just says, I don't really know how much that's worth. I can just tell you the last offer we got that he turned down was up around $100,000. So like, well, look, you can buy a Les Paul for $100,000. Why? Right. It makes sense. It's just so bizarre. But anyways, like I had FETs on all the toms, including snare shell. Like just the close mics on that kit.
Wow.
In the room just for drums. Right. I don't even know. Clearly, if I include that mic above me, you're looking at $150,000 easily. Microphones.
How did you play after that? You play okay?
Oh, way better. You play way better. Anyways, all of this to say,
about the sample pack.
Superior. I think it's Superior. That's my other go-to. Yeah. And Superior has a Blackbird sample pack. And the minute I saw it, I was like, I'm getting that. And, they have, they've sampled their drums in all their rooms with all their, So anyways, I don't,
how do you decide though?
Trial and error. You literally, that's the shit part.
You load different shit in and that
you just stand there and go, and the problem is that so many of the samples are great now. They're so fucking good that, again, I mentioned earlier, it's just a tool. I only rarely have delivered files. And the other thing about the software now is when you deliver the files, it's not a stereo track or a MIDI track.
It's stemmed, right?
It's all stemmed out and broken. Like some of these software companies have emulated rooms, overheads, rooms. It's fucking crazy, man. It's like, it's again, that's an entirely other learning curve that I have paid the least attention to, but it's here. I just grab the laptop, put it over there, fire up Pro Tools, and off we go.
I mean, talk about a dividing line of why would you ever invest in a real drum?
No, we can't talk about sample layering or sample replacing at this point because that completely blows out of the water going, so what shall it? Yeah, exactly. We talked about live drum miking and how by the time it gets to the end signal path, not much can matter at that point. Yeah. It's even worse when you or I send files to a client and they just sample layer like, wow, that's a really great snare sound. Like, oh yeah, I layered an addictive sample. It's like, oh fuck, okay, great. I'm glad I toiled over what snare to use and tuned it to the track.
On the other hand, I did a thing 2 weeks ago. I didn't actually play it. Matt Musty played it, but I recorded him and he used my gear. But the producer hit me back and he goes, dude, what toms are those? And I go, oh, they're probably my DWs, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, wait. I go, wait a minute. Hang on. And I pulled up the track and I listened to him. I go, no, those are the
slate trigger.
No, those are the CB drums I bought at Pro Drum like a month ago for $150. 8, 13, 16. And I tuned those toms way down. And dude, they sound so awesome. So, but he was like, these things sound incredible and they're like super unique. They're like perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, because you tuned them. You tuned them great. Cool. Right? No, but seriously, you tuned them great. You probably muffled them a little bit so that whatever you did, then you used a good microphone and put it through a pre that sounds great, and off they went. And it's amazing to realize that sometimes you don't need a $8,000, $7,000, $6,000 drum kit to get a great, unique, beautiful sound that works for the track.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's literally the cheapest shit sometimes is like the shit.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, literally, that thing, it was like 100. I saw Jerry and I was like, wait, well, how much is that thing? He's like, well, 150. I was like, it's gone. It's like, sold. No one will touch this thing. You know,
God bless Pro Drum.
Yeah. Somebody had obviously owned it and it was pretty dialed, you know, already.
Right. Yeah.
But I was like, CB drums, like.
Did you even change the heads? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You just put them up and kind of went, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
When's the last time you changed a bottom head on any drum? Anything?
Only if it broke. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come with the Remo ambassador head on it, like it's like,
dude, when's the last time I changed a drum a head on
head? I know. Unless it's pitted to hell or broken or crashed, somebody stepped on it wrong. Yeah, I know. Yeah. There's something to be said for sure. Yeah. I catch a lot of crap. I catch a lot of crap sometimes for like, gels on heads, like use so many gels, like, okay, would it be more acceptable if I used a vintage wallet that I found at Goodwill? Who cares? All I needed was to mute the toms so they sounded more 70s. They used wallets and bandanas. I just used who cares? I'm just saying, I've used bandanas too. Similar results. So
your vintage your vintage dampening collection is not dampening.
You know what I mean? It's not as good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as robust. Yeah. But again, like we said, if at the end result you get that sound, I don't care how I got there. It doesn't matter to me.
Remember the towels that John gave us on that gig?
Absolutely. Right? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny what works. I mean, at the place that I was at prior, the studio, they had built an actual tiny drum riser about 12 inches high, because that actual build underneath it, how many 2x4s were underneath it, because it was hollow. It was like because it was in an iconic studio in LA, and that's what they used for decades. And that was part of the sound. The way the kick drum sounded on an empty riser.
It's like resonating, huh?
Absolutely. And who knows? Who knows of it? But it was, it was a prominent LA engineer that said, no, you got to do this. And so we did. We're like, fuck it, we'll build it exactly to spec. He was like, don't put too many this way. It's got to be this thickness. Oh, dude, it was down to an art form, a science as to how thick the wood was, where the beams went, the size of it was 8x8. It's still there, 8x8. It's still sitting in. Okay. But we built a new one based on the design that was an install. And I can't remember if it wasn't Sunset Sound, but what was the room that Grohl bought the console out of?
Sound City.
Thank you. I think Sound City had a drum riser like that. It was a studio like Sound City that had this. Fucking the drums were always on this 1 foot riser that was hollow. So who knows?
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Sure.
I mean, the hollow thing is going to add some tonality, and if it worked in the room with the room somehow, I get it.
Yeah. When you think about resonance and you think about all that stuff, again, those things do matter. If a tom is choked to hell, it's going to matter. That's the source sound is good, But
you know what the magic sauce is? If you put the electronic Yamaha kit on top of that one. with the samples.
That's it. You're done.
Then you've added a thing to the samples that
you have arrived. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you just hear the dull thud of pads resonating.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be great to just send files like that. Like, what? I might have totally.
You put some contact mics on the riser.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, bud. For sure.
I'm all about innovation over here, man.
Full on. Look at you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man.
I don't know. Have we covered it all? Is it all done? Have we talked about mics and pre's and virtual stuff? We talked about recordings and studios and how everything is stupid and
tacos are missing.
Tacos and Cokes, which, you know what? Like, well, the place we went to, it's outside. We can sit across from each other. That's fine.
I know. I
think so. I think I can do it.
I don't know about next week, but Jesus.
Yeah, we're like, have your people call my people. Fucking you. So LA. And we're both not from LA.
Dude, that's the end. That's perfect.
It's funny. Did the fucking zoom in again?
No, I'm still on it.
What the fuck?
It sounded like you hit something, but it's perfect. That was like perfect.
Fuck it.